Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Coffee and Cloud Native. My name is Adrian Goins. Every night, I and my messy desk, I and my army of bots scour the internet for news and content related to Kubernetes and Cloud Native, and every day you'll find me here to share the bits that I find interesting. It's a curated list of content. I go through around 200 submissions every night, and I select just a handful of them for the next day's show. And these are things that I think are interesting, that I think are benefiting the community, that I want to use, whatever. They're just cool stuff. Except actually tonight there was only 100 submissions because I think the United States is preoccupied with something. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't live in the United States right now, but yeah, I think that people are busy because there really wasn't a lot to talk about. But still, somehow I managed to extract data from the bot stream. If you're watching live on Twitch or on YouTube, click the follow button or the subscribe button. If you're watching in the future, click the thumbs up button on the video. Click all the buttons, except the one that looks like that, because that button's, don't click that. If you do click it twice. Yeah. Smash the, do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do. Live chat happens on Twitch and also live chat happens on Twitch, on YouTube, and the live chat channel on Discord. There's a bot that relays between them. It's called RestreamBot. It's pretty cool. So yeah, come hang out with us during the show or after the show. Discord is the place to be. And this is the second night that I'm actually pre-recording this show to broadcast it tomorrow. I am in the live chat. Future me is in the live chat, live with you while this is being streamed live. Well, whatever. It's recorded being streamed. Anyway, the reason I'm doing this is because of internet issues here. And while today looked more promising, I don't want to have any issues tomorrow. So I'll know more after I upload this video and hopefully things are good. And actually I was going to start a countdown. I don't know how many minutes it's been. I'm going to start a timer to see if I am able to keep the show to a reasonable length. So we only have a half hour or 32 minutes or something like that. Let's get started. That browser window's too small. I knew that was going to be too small. I knew it. I clicked the button anyway. There you go. Today is Giveaway Friday. Giveaway Friday means we give something away. And it's kind of funny because, this price that you see on the screen is not the price that it's going to be tomorrow morning because this ends in 6 hours, but whatever. This week we are giving away the complete traffic training course. This is new. This is awesome. It's got good reviews from the 24 people who've actually reviewed it, but it is endorsed by Traffic. And it's also kind of small. Let's make that a little bigger. Whoa, not that big. Good. Geez, wow. Okay. Sorry. That was crazy. Oh my gosh, I have a hat on. Why do I have a hat on? Let me put that back on. I think I have a hat on because I need to cut my hair. My hair. So yeah, if you want to know about Traffic, the way that this works is join the live chat on Discord, and there will be a giveaway. Future Me has probably already started the giveaway. The giveaway has a little emoji underneath it. You click the emoji to indicate that you would like to participate in the giveaway. And before the end of the show, the bot that runs the giveaway will randomly pick from the people who've clicked the little thing. Now, in order for the giveaway to happen, so I totally screwed that up. Future Me has not done the giveaway, started the giveaway yet, because in order for the giveaway to happen, we have to get to 50 viewers between YouTube and Twitch. So if we cross that 50 viewer watermark, then Future Me will actually start the giveaway. And there'll be all sorts of fanfare and crazy stuff like that. So this is the first time that we're doing a pre-recorded live giveaway, live future drawing tomorrow thing. Just, if you watch the show, you know how it works. Come join the chat and you get to win a thing. Maybe. Somebody does. A few shows ago, we had some conversations about various kubectl SSH things. And I asked Nuno or Vito, or I don't remember who it was, to post in the chat. And a bunch of people posted a bunch of different things, which is why I don't remember who it was. So I looked at some of them and I thought I would put them on the show and discuss them because that's what we do here. So the first one here is kubectl plugin SSH jump. This claims that it is a kubectl plugin to SSH into Kubernetes nodes using an SSH jump host pod. We're all familiar with environments that have bastion hosts, the host that lives at the edge of the network, and you SSH into it, and then from there you can SSH into the network. These are also called jump boxes. Well, this basically does the same thing, but instead of a jump box, you have a jump pod. And you can SSH into that, and then from there, SSH into other nodes in the cluster. Okay. There's not really anything I can say about it. I'm generally averse to the idea of SSHing into pods, and that's why I'm like pausing while I look at this. But you're not actually SSHing into, it's not a pod, you're not SSHing into the container to do anything with the container. You're running a container as a bastion host at the edge of your network. I don't know, man. Like, it makes me uncomfortable for some reason. It's curious because what I would like to see, and I'm not able to quickly determine if this, yeah, so you're still SSHing into something. Like, the whole point of having Kubernetes is we don't need to SSH into stuff. Like, we can, we can use kubectl exec. So why not kubectl exec into, oh, maybe it SSHs directly through to a node. Does it? Hang on a second. Looking. SSH pub key port, rskip agent. You have a private SSH, you have a PEM file. List of destination nodes. Okay. So it actually looks like it SSHs through to things? Okay, so I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this because I'm not. I spelled username wrong. Process given through which connection can be made to the node machines. Here's how you want to connect to Kubernetes node, but you have to go through a jump host file because of firewalling. Actually, there's a number of valid reasons why jump hosts are needed. Yeah, this just seems to me like the fact that it's got SSHD running, I'm going to go with you have to SSH directly into this pod. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. You still have to have port 22 open somewhere to gain access to the pod, or you're SSHing on another random port. If you have SSHD open on port 22, is that not conflicting with the SSHD on port 22 running on the rest of your infrastructure? I don't like it. Next up, we have, I'm sorry, the individual who is actually behind this is going to see a tweet and he's going to come and watch the show and he's going to see me being like, I don't like it. But I don't think that this is a good use of the technology that Kubernetes has. This is trying to make Kubernetes do something from before there was Kubernetes. Let's come over here. We have Luxa. This gentleman is actually, his full name is Marco Luxa. I don't know how to pronounce the S with the little thingy in it, so I'm just going to pronounce it like an S. Marco Luxa has various kubectl plugins, one of which is kubectl SSH. And this actually is not SSH. It's totally not SSH. This runs a privileged pod that creates a volume of / and mounts it at /host, and then chroots into /host. That's cheating. It's not SSH. Not only is it not SSH, but you're not even on the node. And so you're not even going to get, you're not going to be able to run the binaries. You're not going to be able to, your chrooted, no. Also don't like it. I mean, he talks about it's a provider agnostic way of opening a remote shell to a Kubernetes nodes. You can access a node even when it doesn't run an SSH server or when you don't have the required credentials. Yeah, you can get on there and you can whack files and screw with things, and it's not SSH. I don't like it either. Over here from KV Apps, we have kubectl SSH. Same name, different people. Tiny plugin for connecting to a node in the cluster over SSH. This actually SSHs directly to a node. It just totally bypasses Kubernetes. The only thing that it does is it uses kubectl to, let's go look at it. It uses kubectl to actually get the IP address of the node, so that you don't have to figure that out first before you SSH to it. But if the IP address that the node reports is an internal IP, well, good luck trying to get to it. None of these are good solutions. None of them are good solutions. If you want to be able to SSH to your nodes, SSH to your nodes. If you don't want to SSH to your nodes, don't. Run a Bastion host, because that's a better thing for it to do than trying to make Kubernetes do this. I'm spending a lot of time on these. Or use NSEnter. Honestly, that was just the easiest thing that I've ever done. I needed to get access to a node, and I just ran the kube NSEnter, and boom, I had shell on the node that I asked to get shell on. And it was easy. It was real. It doesn't require SSH. It is entirely Kubernetes native. And it worked really well. So I'm going to stick with that. As long as we're talking about stuff from KV apps, kubectl build. kubectl build. This came out a couple of months ago, and I went and ran it, and it totally didn't work. Like, not at all. It didn't even pretend to work. It just did nothing. And so I forgot about it. Well, now it mostly works. Basically, what you've got here is you run kubectl build and point it at a Docker file or the current context in the directory that you're in, and it deploys a Kaneko pod inside of your Kubernetes cluster and then uses that to actually build things. And that's great. It failed for me because it was expecting to run or have access to some Mac keychain thing to be able to pull credentials from my Mac keychain. That totally freaks me out. I don't think I want Mr. KV Apps' stuff pulling random passwords from my keychain. So it failed, and I'm totally okay with that. I think in some cases this will work. It certainly works better than it did before, but I like the idea it's just basically a wrapper around Kaneko, and hopefully it's not copying everybody's keychain out to the internet. Kubernetes has a blog article where they made the unfortunate choice to take a swipe at K3S. So I am duty bound to take a swipe back at them. They made a swipe at K3S by saying that, let's see, where was it? A Kubernetes cluster consists of the control plane and the worker nodes. To shrink this footprint, some projects have tried to strip non-essential elements out of Kubernetes to create a slimmed down version. However, this creates a fork of Kubernetes that needs to be maintained and managed independently from the rest of your Kubernetes stack. That statement right there is called FUD. F-U-D, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Basically, it's a statement that means nothing. Every single Kubernetes distribution is a fork of upstream Kubernetes. Every single one of them. And they all need to be maintained. So that's not a good argument for why K3S isn't an appropriate fit. K3S is not a perfect fit for every environment, but saying that it creates a fork that needs to be maintained doesn't suddenly make Kubernetes solution better. So let's look at what they're proposing. They are proposing, let's open this in a new tab. There we go. They are proposing what really amounts to fog computing, that there's the cloud/data center, and then, so that's got a master and seed control plane, and then there's possibly user clusters there. This cloud data center master control plane can spawn seed clusters, which in turn can spawn user clusters at the provider edge. Remember, I forget you guys can't see my mouse. At the provider edge. And then those user clusters can spawn nodes out at the user edge. This is a totally viable model for doing stuff with Kubernetes. This is how KubeEdge does it. This is how, there's another one that I had at my Edge conference. I don't remember the name, but there was one that can do cascading clusters, where clusters can build clusters that can build clusters going as far down as you want. The immediate problem that I see with this is that it stipulates that at the user edge, you have nodes with zero control plane functionality, and that's a network connection back to the provider edge. If that network connection gets severed, you've lost your entire control plane. Oops. Workers will continue to work. Things will continue to run, but there's no scheduling, there's no interaction with it, you need to have that thing able to be autonomous. If that was a K3S node, well, it could be completely autonomous. It's just a full control plane, single node Kubernetes cluster with everything sitting out at the user edge. Now, I'm not saying that what they're proposing is wrong. Yeah, it's a way of doing things. I don't personally like these Kubernetes clusters, create Kubernetes clusters, create Kubernetes clusters things where there's a dependency between them. So if this master and seed control plane, is talking to a seed cluster, and that seed cluster is talking to a user cluster, I don't know what the relationship is here between all of these pieces. But there's 3 layers of network there, not counting what's going on inside of the facilities themselves, that could fall apart. And when things fall apart, unexpected gnarliness happens. If you're interested in this kind of a structure, look up fog computing. And fog computing is the idea that there's lots of things that happen between the cloud and the edge, and that's called the fog. And you might have provider edge, user edge, regional data centers, 5G towers. You might have all of these different places where things are happening. Moving on. This article, I think, underestimates how many companies are facing unexpected cloud bills. I think it's more like 5 in 5. Yeah. But it's interesting that they say that their research, this is written by the CEO, or at least it spoke with the CEO of Percona. And he says, for many organizations, growth around cloud and data has increased more than they expected. Keeping control over your data and your costs will be essential for everyone over time. Like, this is a new thing. Using open source databases is one of the best ways to achieve that. I don't know that that's necessarily true. Percona, has they're vested. They have a vested interest in you using their products. If the problem is that database as a service has increased, so database as a service had increased 5 percentage points year on year to 45%, with more than half of large companies saying that they had used it. So we're talking about RDS, DigitalOcean service, all of these hosted database services, which are stupidly expensive for what they do. Stupidly expensive. I absolutely see that it's not using open source databases is the solution, because you can get RDS that's Postgres or MariaDB, or I don't know why I say MariaDB, but I'm not going to change that, or MySQL, and those are open source databases. I think what he means is running it yourself. But the whole value of database as a service is that you don't need to run it yourself. So it's like 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Where do you want to experience the benefits of the solution? Do you want lower costs in infrastructure, but higher costs in operations staff? Or do you want higher costs in infrastructure and lower costs in operations staff? Or maybe the same cost in operations staff, but they get to spend their time doing something else. It's more about the buckets into which you place the money, and avoiding vendor lock-in. I think that's the most important thing of all. By avoiding vendor lock-in, you deploy by deploying solutions that give you the flexibility to move, you avoid vendor lock-in. So now, if Amazon's charging you too much money, you have the option to lift your stuff and put it somewhere else. Dealing with Kubernetes, with multi-cloud, multi-cluster, and even multi-cloud solutions outside of Kubernetes gives you power to move around, go where you need to be, do what you need to do to keep your costs where you need them to be. Which led me to this article, The Rise of the Event Streaming Database. I hadn't heard of this. This is a nice, detailed article from one of the people at, Confluent. We're not going to click that. Took me to his LinkedIn page. At Confluent, they create a database that we'll talk about here in a second in the next tab. And he explains how SQL databases are designed for people and event streaming databases are designed for applications. And that when you're building an application that needs to just talk to other applications, an event streaming database is actually, in many cases, a better fit. And that it doesn't put the burden of the query on the receiving side. It puts the burden of the query on the traffic side, or on the data side. When the data changes, the stream is updated. Basically, you keep the query open. And as the information changes, you continue to get updates. It's a pretty neat idea, event stream processing. And he explains all about it and where and why and when you might want to use it. And then he points to KSQLDB, which is a streaming event database service that sits on top of Apache Kafka. And does everything that he just talked about in his previous article. This is open source. Kafka's open source. If you're interested in event streaming databases, there you go. I have 4 minutes before I have to do the tool of the day. We might actually finish the show on something remotely close to time. Who knows? Google's Cloud Shell Editor is now based on the Eclipse Theia IDE platform. This is available in preview and has some pretty interesting features. One, it's built on Eclipse Theia, which is pretty cool. Rich language for whatever. It's all the things you know and love from Eclipse. Under the hood, it still leverages a virtual machine. That's fine. So it has all of the tools in it. And there's something here about VS Code. So it doesn't offer an online development environment. So this is actually, they're talking about Azure. Azure's Cloud Shell. So Eclipse Theia embraces many of the VS Code design decisions and even directly supports VS Code extensions. And that's what allows us to run the Cloud Code extension inside of the Cloud Shell editor. So that's neat. I like VS Code. Ian Coldwater was just complaining about how they don't like VS Code. I used to use Eclipse. I really liked Eclipse, but then Eclipse just kind of got more and more bloated. And then I went with Sublime Text for a bunch of years, but I never use any of the plugins. I know that a lot of people who use these software packages are really into the enhancing them with plugins. I just like VS Code because, I don't know, it works. I really like its debugger. I find it super friendly to use for debugging Python applications. So that's that. Dan Pop made the comment that he noticed I'm tired this week. I am super tired this week. I've spent the last 2.5 weeks building Rancher's KubeCon demo intro, KubeCon promo video. Yeah, plus it's also 11:15 at night. I'm tired. So yeah, I'm hoping to get some sleep this weekend so that I can come back next week fully refreshed and won't have these moments where I sort of, fade off into the sunset. Uship is featured on Solo's blog, talking about how they used Glue and a bunch of other stuff to modernize their monolithic application. Before, they were using EC2, Terraform, and Mashery, and now they're using EC2, Terraform, Mashery went away, and a bunch of other stuff, ElkStack, Prometheus, Cert Manager, OPA, Glue, and EKS. Not sure how much of that is actually connected to the modernization of their application, but certainly their platform. They talk about using Glue, which is an API gateway from Solo, as part of the migration, hooking it up with policy-based authentication through OPA. They're using Flux for continuous delivery. And then why they chose Glue, for its integration with Envoy, its ability to do authorization with OPA, the ability to delegate configuration of routes to the development teams. That's powerful. So they wanted to make sure that the people who were actually building the applications had the power to do the route configuration for them. And diverse endpoints, routing to workloads in EC2 and Lambda, because they use those as well as their Kubernetes environments. While I don't normally feature case studies, I'm putting this up here because it dovetails really nicely into this article that was posted on the CNCF blog last week, which I considered putting on the show, and then I decided not to, and then Tim recommended it, and so I decided to put it back on the show tonight because it fits. Basically, what this article says is Ingress was promoted from beta to GA in Kubernetes 1.19, and it's probably not going to get any better, because now everything that happens in Kubernetes is going to be a custom resource. So Ingress is probably, whatever limitations it has, it is what it is. The primary limitation is that it doesn't give you any ability to separate out identity authentication and routing, which are the things that are on the screen here. So they give some examples here about, you might want somebody to be able to control the actual route definition, somebody else to be able to control the TLS certificate, and somebody else to be able to control the DNS. And in the current Ingress resource, you can't. So there's work being done on the gateway API, which is funny because it's like the opposite of API gateway. So there's work being done on the gateway API although there's no implementations of the Gateway API at the moment, but what there are API gateways. And I see that that's where things are going to go. There's functionality that's present in an API gateway like Glue that you're just not going to get from an ingress resource. So why not use it? The rest of the article talks about setting up a ingress with Contour, which is built on top of Envoy, and walks through how to set that up so that you can start to leverage Envoy with Contour. And in fact, they talk back here saying that while implementations of the API of the Gateway API do not exist yet, the API is very much inspired by the API of the Contour ingress controller. So if you would like to stick more with what is going to be the pure Kubernetes options with Gateway API, then maybe exploring Contour is the right path for you. This gives you some information and examples on how to set up Contour, and then talks briefly about setting up OPA, specifically Gatekeeper, to handle policy management of your ingress resources. One more thing before tool of the day. Hopefully at this point, somebody's won the giveaway. If so, congratulations. I will give a direct shout out to whoever that person is in the show on Monday. If you're going to KubeCon, Cloud Native Security Day is happening on November 17th, and they have a whole day of events that ends with a Capture the Flag event. This is pretty sparse in information, but the link that I'm going to have in the video description and in the community site actually takes you to the issue where they talk about what's going on. If you have zero skill whatsoever in security, you can still go to this. You don't have to be some elite hacksaw to join and participate in this. There will be things that you can learn. And they're going to start out by, so they'll have each CTF scenario will be run in parallel with a talk with friendly people on hand in Slack to help anybody who gets stuck. Because the idea is, it's not to demonstrate your skills, it's to teach you how to do stuff and also teach you security at the same time. So you learn how to protect your cluster by compromising another cluster and capturing their flag. They have several different scenarios, and this looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So a CTF event at KubeCon for the Cloud Native Security Day on November 17th. I might go to that. Finally, this takes us to the tool of the day. Today's tool of the day is just fun to say. Cattle paddle. Oh, it sounds naughty, doesn't it? Cattle paddle. Or cuddle puddle. If you're one of the people who says kube cuddle, then this is going to be cuddle puddle. A cuddle puddle. Oh, that's funny. A cuddle puddle. There was a nightclub in New York called Twilo. They got into lots of trouble. They had this whole area in the front of the club where people who were rolling on ecstasy and just needed to go chill out for a little while would go. And it was called the Cuddle Puddle. And that was just people rolling on ecstasy who were just curled up with each other. Twilo also got in lots of trouble because they had security footage of them taking, this is so terrible. They had security footage of them taking people who were ODing on drugs in the club and dragging them around from room to room while the cops were doing an inspection of the club. They got super busted for that. And the place where Twilo used to be is now where the Sleep No More play, I guess it's a play, show, where the Sleep No More show happens. It's in the old Twilo warehouse. If you're ever in New York, go to Sleep No More. That's an experience that's like a once-in-a-lifetime experience, unless you go again. Anyway, Cuddle Puddle, Cattle Paddle, back to the show. Cattle Paddle was built by Tilt. Tilt makes multi-service development environment for teams on Kubernetes. So they make a way to turn your Kubernetes cluster into, well, actually, is that Tilt or is that Loft? Tilt powers multi-service development, make sure to behave, run Tilt up and complete dev environment for your team. Okay, so these guys make an app for doing development on Kubernetes. They're not the multi-tenant Kubernetes solution, that's somebody else, but they have cattle paddle that they put together based on their experience setting up lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of dev clusters. You can install this, and they give you some examples here of, for example, setting it up inside of Docker Desktop and saying it has minimum of 4 CPUs, or setting it up with a kind cluster with a registry. They have a bunch of other examples. Let's go look at those really quick. They have a bunch of, well, okay, so maybe bunch was optimistic. They have three examples, but they will have more. That's the one that was already in their docs. That's the one that was already in their docs. That's weird. Okay, well, this is 0.1.0 got released yesterday. In their roadmap, they say that they're going to have, so currently they have Docker for Mac, kind with a registry and CPU allocation, and they're working on Minikube, K3D, microcates, and memory allocation. It is a work in progress, but it's out there. If they're going to release it, I'm going to talk about it. That's the tool of the day. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of today's show. If you liked what you saw today, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, follow me in the places you can follow me, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. Just don't follow me home. Links to everything that I talk about in the show go up in the free community site at community.cncn.io. After the show ends, come join us. Community members get access to the links in the video replay a day before the rest of the internet. They also get no ads for that period of time. Membership is free, and the community is growing every day. If you have something that you would like for me to consider for the show, you can hit me up and let me know. Just mention me in a post on the community site, ping me on Discord or Twitter. And that's it. Have a great day, everyone. Congratulations if somebody won. Hopefully somebody did. Future me will tell me tomorrow. Have a safe weekend. Stay caffeinative. I will see you in the next show. Goodbye.